Post-election reflections, video 3. Let's go. If you didn't check them out, please go back and review. Like, it's important to understand the sequence here. The first video was about the attributes, what must be true about us in order for us to do this work well, has not changed. It has not changed. The circumstances in which we must do the work certainly have and will change even more. But who we are vis-a-vis it can't change. That was the first video. Okay, and then the second video was just reminding us of just the natural ebbing and flowing of life, just the natural way that life pans out, plays itself out. There's highs and lows, and then there's times where there's real lows, really real lows, and really real highs too. And us being steadfast in pursuit of what must be true without being super focused and distracted by what is true is part of it. We are living in the natural default inertia of our country, which only knows one muscle when it comes to people who are different, women, people of color. And that muscle is marginalize, mute, diminish, all the things. And there could be some isms in there, likely are. There's also, as many of you probably have already read, just lots of preservation concerns. But anyway, it's just kind of how things naturally evolve. And that will always be the case until we do our work better and with more kind of effectual permanence. Today's video is going to be a little bit longer, maybe. And I'm going to read a lot of it because I want to pull it immediately directly from the talking points that I shared with the members of the Rare Woman Collective, which is a program, racial equity program suite that I run for white women who want to do racial equity work in their homes and in their communities and with their families. So our third point is this: do not miss this opportunity for self-reflection and introspection. And this is specifically for those of us who do advocacy work, who are practitioners in this space, either inside of companies, outside of companies, or maybe even in communities via a social justice lens. Here we go. Okay. It could be very easy to get caught up in the outrage of this and the ism of it and the name calling and the indictments and criticism of folks who chose, some would argue, they chose another America. I would argue they chose a continuation of the current America. So it's easy to sit in a place of indicting that. And you can stay in that space if you like, but I would caution us to quickly make space for the other inquiry that must be undertaken. And that is, where did we go wrong? What could we have done differently? Where did we misjudge or mishandle the customer, the client, for whom our advocacy work was targeted to begin with? Are y'all still with me? Oh my gosh, are you still with me? All right, think of it this way. Think of it in terms of sales. So we learn that both in style and substance, those things matter. Like how we sell and what we sell in sales, that matters. What you sell and how you sell is extraordinarily consequential, especially regarding this work. Your content matters, but your approach often matters more, especially here with regard to these isms that we're trying to eviscerate. Equity advocacy, in many ways, is sales. We have always been selling to conservatism and selling to white people. Now, not exclusively those groups, but certainly primarily those groups. And both of those identities, the identity of conservatism and the identity of white male, they have their own rituals, customs, norms, beliefs, values that I think too many of us in doing this work kind of collectively dismissed. I've often compared the positioning of racial equity as kind of selling insulin into a sugar factory. Our customer, the community that we've always needed to reach, on this topic, knowing that they've been largely white, largely conservative. I think it wasn't just our substantive content alone that proved to be the issue for them. It was our approach. And if we're honest, for a lot of us, our approach was a whole hot mess. You know what? So for me, anytime I'm talking about advocacy work, I don't care what the subject matter is. Advocacy means inviting you, the person that I'm advocating with, to understand another way to be. And what's the best way to understand that is to invite them, to give an example of what else can I be, if not this thing that I've always been, that my parents have always been, that their parents have always been, and blah, 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 blah. Like, how else can someone show me what else is possible without indicting me for what I know to be possible as my only current lived reality? Okay, I'm going to continue reading. Most folks do racial equity advocacy work, especially over the last several years. They do it in a way that, in my opinion, is resolved to being unkind, using unkind language, yelling at people, criticizing Christians, bashing Republicans. We didn't, as I talked about in my first video, distinguish the person from the issue. We led with our emotions, all the while pounding and beating our chests and clapping back and calling in and calling out, and all in the name of asserting our advocacy muscle, when in fact none of it was pervasive or persuasive. It wasn't strategic, and maybe not even advocacy. And so I think we lost sight of the intended outcome. If the intended outcome is changed hearts and minds, soften belief systems and ideologies on racism, a deeper understanding of the cadence and the lived experience and the idiosyncrasies of what it's like to be a person navigating difference in our country, if the outcome is for that level of understanding, you can't yell racism out of somebody. You can't fuss somebody or condemn or criticize or use words like, stay with me, white fragility, white supremacy, you're woke ain't woke enough. We can't use those words if the outcome that we intend is changed hearts and minds, and certainly to a great extent at some point behaviors. The clapback doesn't work. When I launched my company 3 years ago, my very first speech was called the DEI debacle. Now listen, this was at a time where DEI was hot. Everybody, couldn't get enough of it. And I came out of the gate suggesting that the way that we're approaching DEI is going to subject us to heartbreak at the end. I was concerned then and am worried now that we didn't pace and sequence the work. We gave organizations way too much to digest, to change around. We told them they have to change everything about what they believe about every particular community, that they have to do it all at the same time. We, DEI folks, didn't have resources. We didn't have the money. We didn't have the team. We didn't have the cachet, most of us in the organizations, to really begin to dissect all of these things. And so we told them that you have to reset the way that you believe and think about every single community right now at the same time. It's untenable. It doesn't work. Most of what we offered up to Trump supporters, people who voted for Trump, most of what we offered up as an alternative to America was disruptive to every single thing these folks have ever known in their life, and they were threatened by it, and we fed the threat. Now, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying there wasn't ism here, or that there wasn't hatred here, or that people just don't want a woman, couldn't stomach it. But what I am saying is, while that may be true, we have to own our part. See you in the next video.